I remember being a kid watching all of the ThunderCats cartoons. I did not miss ThunderCats. I did not miss G.I. Joe. I did not miss He-Man, Voltron. I could go on. There's a Bionic 6. There's so many cartoons that I was faithful to watching. I am really glad to see the expansion of the ThunderCats mythos in comic books today. Because I think ThunderCats, in my opinion, didn't have as long a life as it should have in cartoons. I can't remember exactly how many seasons it had, but and back then, cartoon runs actually didn't go very long. If you look at a lot of the cartoons back then, you might have 3 seasons, 4 seasons, maybe 5 seasons, but they didn't really go for a very long time. There's some that did. There's some cartoons that managed to stand the test of time, and I don't really know what it was, at that time. Cartoons, I don't know if they had the mass appeal that they have today. But with that said, I love to see ThunderCats being expanded upon because there's so much story left to be told in ThunderCats, in my humble opinion. Anyway, let's get to this article. First Comics News, ThunderCats are lost in time for a new comic. Now, I've already read the article, and I had some reservations and hesitations at first about the time travel aspect. And the main reason is, and I've said this before, I made a video about it, sometimes I think time travel is overused. I don't have a problem with it being used, but it can be abused. And it's like, man, there's other stories to be told in sci-fi. Time travel is not the only way we can tell these stories. But I'm glad that as I read through this article, and we'll get to it, you find out that this is actually a one-shot. And I brought this up in one of my recent videos. One-shots are amazing because it gives writers the ability to tell stories, and they can tell far out, outlandish stories, and it's one shot. It's self-contained, so you don't have to destroy an entire continuity for this one shot. Now, that doesn't mean that one shot can't somehow tie into the continuity, but it doesn't have to, and I like that. Okay, October 9th, Mount Laurel, New Jersey. The next major phase of the ThunderCats comic books is teased this January in the new can't miss special, ThunderCats Lost in Time, from Ed Brisson, Chris Campana, and presented by Dynamite Entertainment and Warner Bros. Discovery Global Consumer Products. That's a mouthful right there. Alongside Declan Shalvey, who kicked it all off with writing the continuing flagship Cats title, writer Ed Brisson, New Mutants and Predator, has contributed so much to this new era of stories for ThunderCats fans and comic books. Across his dual titles of ThunderCats Lost and Silverhawks, as well as a string of specials including Apex, Pumera, Panthro, and upcoming holiday special, he's been continuing to expand out the mythos and building up the foundation for greater heights. Those ethos and exciting storytelling take their next step in Lost in Time. I've brought this up one time, I can't remember what video. Hollywood and entertainment in general is going through this phase where they're constantly rehashing and retelling old stories. The thing about ThunderCats is you don't really have to rehash. As I said, ThunderCats still has more story to be told. You can introduce people to the lore and the backstory and move forward telling more stories. And there's a lot of franchises that I'm not going to say they've exhausted storytelling, but we know so much about them that you're not necessarily going to get anything new. I think ThunderCats is one of those IPs that you could actually get a lot of new stuff. The core team of ThunderCats Lost find themselves flung far into the future, Ripped from Third Earth, they'll find themselves in a haunting dystopic vision of their world, Sixth Earth. This broken planet is cobbled together from the ruins of their former home. This foreboding future is ruled by a police state that has outlawed and hunted cats to their extinction and become completely overrun with mysterious automation robots and mass surveillance. It's up to the likes of Legan, Linuxo, Nico, Pumera, and mysterious defector to figure out what's going on, if they can find a way back home, and how to prevent this dark future from coming to pass. And that, of course, that's always one of the tropes of time travel. You see what happened. You want to make sure, how do we prevent this from coming to our world? I don't necessarily have a problem with that. And again, the fact that this is a one shot means I don't have to deal with long, drawn out, carrying this across all ThunderCats stories. Now, the way the article is written, it seems like it will be to some degree connected, but being a one shot, you're not bogged down by adding this to every facet of ThunderCats stories. Brisson is joined by artist extraordinaire Chris Campana, a veteran with contributions to countless blockbuster comics, including G.I. Joe, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Red Sonja, Vampirella, Lady Death, Pathfinder, and many others. This duo are laying the groundwork for huge developments in the ThunderCats comics to come as 2026 marches on, making this upcoming release a truly essential prelude and stepping stone to things to come. And that's good. That's good. The ThunderCats comics that I have are super enjoyable. And I believe I said this, I haven't kept up with them. Unfortunately, the thing is, so I bought one ThunderCats title and I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to get the next one. And then there were so many different concurrent running titles. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to keep up with all of this. I'll just wait till I can compile all of them in a trade paperback or something like that. So, but I'm excited to see that this is going on and a new generation gets to be introduced to the ThunderCats, which is just great sci-fi and great comic book and cartoons, in my opinion. I've been looking forward to writing this issue for a long time, said writer Ed Brisson. That right there is always a good sign. When a writer or an artist tells you, I've been waiting to do this, then their interest is actually in telling a good story. They want to give you something you enjoy because they've been, thinking and meditating on this for a while. So that's actually exciting news. Things revealed in this one shot will send shockwaves through the entire ThunderCats comics universe. I cannot overstate how much of a ripple effect this book is going to have. The team is going to learn things about their own history that will force them to reconcile with their own history, while also being forced to make one of the hardest decisions that any of them has ever had to face. It's about personal sacrifice for the greater good. This is why I love comic books and I love heroes that do things outside the norm, outside of how normal people would handle situations. This is what makes comic books intriguing. It's like this person, this guy, this character has done something noble beyond the nobility of most people. And that kind of draws you in. It's like a character above the rest. This indispensable chapter in the ongoing comics mythos comes complete with an exciting offering for fans. For readers not using digital, the book will only be available as mystery blind bag from their favorite retailers. Within each bag, fans have the possibility of 4 covers with unique artwork from top artists Declan Shalvey, Enid Balaam, Alessandro Rinaldi, and Cat Staggs. There is also a possibility of pulling rare variants, such as trade dress-free, virgin, or line art variations on those 4 pieces. That's intriguing and that's interesting. I like that. They've been doing a blind bag thing, generating fan interest. And I like the fact that they threw in there for readers not using digital. I think at some point there was a thought that digital comics was going to take over the comic book space. Personally, I never thought that was going to be the case. I will buy a digital comic book, and I have, especially when I had a traveling job going overseas. Of course, you don't want to be carrying a bunch of comic books with you. It was easy to buy them digitally. I had my iPad. I could read them, have as many books as I wanted on me on that iPad. But as far as a collector, like my go-to is not a digital comic. And even the digital comics I have, I make an effort to get physical issues. I don't think comic books will ever go solely digital. Yes, there are more people who use digital, and I think that will probably increase, but I don't think they will ever go solely digital. I'm growing a greater appreciation for physical media, and not just in comic books, just in general. But anyway, I think this is actually some interesting and possibly really exciting news for ThunderCats.